Hello everyone, welcome to a Daincast of Little War Game. This is the first one I think I've ever done, so it'll be a little bit of a proof of concept here. This is currently in the Season 9 of the Little War Game Proleague. There are two teams that are playing in this league. The first team is Team Weird Rat, and the second team is Team Dark Realm. These two teams have already played for 1 week, and in the first week, Team Dark Realm came out on top, but just barely. It was very close, and this is the second and final week between these two teams. And the context for this is an interesting bit of a pro league because you've got quite a few players who are relatively new to the game playing on Team Dark Realm, and they are generally new to the game, but they're not new to real-time strategy in general. There are some Master League players from StarCraft 2 who are giving Little War Game a go, and they've been performing remarkably well. One of these players is up here in the top left-hand corner. His name is Rædwulf. He is playing from the clan the Drunken Outlaws. It's actually still a StarCraft clan, if you can believe it or not, very old StarCraft clan. And in the bottom right-hand corner, you've got a player called Breach. So Breach was not Rædwulf's original opponent, but because of some dropouts and bits and bobs, Breach had to take the place for Rædwulf's as his opponent. You can see that Breach is going for what looks like to be the one den kind of destroy call opening, where he gets one den kind of fast and then a second house and tries to make 3 or 4 wolves, probably 4 or 5 wolves actually, and Rædwulf is going for pretty much the same thing. So it's a complete mirror between these two. It's going to come down to the execution to see who can actually put more pressure on their opponent. Now you have to expect from Rædwulf that he's going to have some very, very solid real-time strategy fundamentals, right? So he's going to be able to control his units really well. He's going to be able to macro really well. He might not quite have the game knowledge that some of the other older players might have had, players who've been playing for a very long time, but he's going to have some very, very strong fundamentals, given that he was a Master League player in StarCraft, and I also happen to know he was a very high rate. I think he was a Conqueror player in 1v1 Age of Empires 4 as well. So obviously he knows what he's doing. Now in the middle of the map here, we see the scuffle in the very, very middle. So you get this sometimes with mirror matchups where they both send their unit across the map to scout at the exact same time, and Breach's second wolf coming just a little bit faster, but both of them pulling their wolves away at the last possible minute. We're always looking for where the builds happen to diverge. Now we're already seeing Rædwulf here is going for his expansion a little bit quicker. So not much going on in Team Breach over here. It looks like he's still making a few more wolves. So he's probably, if we check the units tab here, Breach has 2 more wolves than Rædwulf has. I think Rædwulf has realized that there's not that much pressure to be done early on, and instead he's just going to be going for the faster expansion, whereas Breach thinks maybe he can get a little bit work done, so he's going to make a few more. Actually, I've completely misread the situation. I thought Rædwulf was red for some reason. Silly me, thinking Rædwulf would be red. No, it's actually the other way around. Rædwulf somehow has a faster expansion, and he has 3 more wolves. The only thing that's really going in Breach's favor here is that he has 1 extra worker. So I think this is just going to be a mechanical difference here for Rædwulf. He's just able to get those units out that bit faster. The other thing that's going well for Rædwulf here is he's going to be getting his second den up really quickly. This is what you want to do when you're playing with the 1 den. You want to get that second den up ASAP. Breach here opting to go for a tower, realizing that he can't quite defend against all the wolves that Rædwulf has out. So this is a really dire situation when you have to build a tower just to defend when both of you have the exact same build. It means that you're just going to be stuck kind of sitting in your base. If Rædwulf wanted right now, he could take a 3rd base, and then he's really not worried about any pressure coming out. Rædwulf going to be focus firing the worker here, realizing that, you know, this is really dangerous situation for Breach. He's having to lose all this mining time. I don't necessarily know that Wolf needs to fight here, and again, I think he's right to just go away. He realizes that Breach has invested into that tower. Rædwulf has 3 more workers, now 5 more workers now. He's going to be mining from that base. He hasn't had to invest in that tower. He's got 4 more wolves than his opponent has. So really it's just the multitasking and the mechanics that Rædwulf has. Although Breach here going up to 3 wolves dens here, meaning that he is going to be able to produce more units if he needs to. But because Rædwulf got this second den much earlier, he's actually outproducing him, right? So just getting the extra den, you'd think you'd get more units, but actually because this den is coming so late, it's going to mean that Breach is kind of stuck. I'm not going to say it's an all-in situation on 2 bases by any means, but he is kind of stuck just building up these units because he doesn't really have the ability to step out on the map. So he's going to have to get more wolves than Rædwulf has before he expands. Rædwulf just sitting there, kind of building his houses, making his wolves, not really stressing too much about getting the upgrades going or anything like that. He's just trying to make sure that he maintains his lead in the units and he gets his third up a little bit more quickly than his opponent does. Now, I think at the sort of top of the ladder, if you see in a Beast versus Beast mirror, what I've noticed lately is they tend to go for 1 or even 2 animal testing labs before they get their third base down, because those upgrades are so important. But in this case, because neither player is opting to get the upgrades, it's not going to make any kind of major difference, right? So now from the looks of it here, Breach does have quite a few more. A little bit of a panic there from Breach, misreading the situation, thinking that he's going to need to pull his workers there, just losing that mining time. So a little bit of inexperience there. You can see there's maybe there are a few more wolves from Rædwulf, but I don't think by any means Breach needed to pull his workers there. He can just keep his wolves near the tower, and then you know you're absolutely fine. That's the whole point of having that tower. Somehow Wolf actually got a wolf. It's going to get a little bit confusing here. He's actually got a wolf into the main base to get a full scout there, and as soon as that wolf died, Breach decides to go for the Dragon's Lair. So I think Breach is realizing right now he's not going to be able to get out on the map and take his base anytime soon. There's way too many wolves for Rædwulf, and instead he's just going to go for the lair. I guess it's not really a lair. It's the fortress, I guess it's called. The fortress. You can see I play too much StarCraft. So yeah, nice little worker transfer coming here from Rædwulf to the third base. So he's going to be mining so much more than his opponent is. He's got 6 more workers, plus he's got that whole extra base. And if you don't know that in Little War Game, the amount of workers you have past sort of 5 workers, they mine much slower than the first sort of 5 workers. So what that translates to in real terms is the more bases you have, as long as you spread at least 5 workers onto those bases, you get a major increase in income compared to if you're only mining on 2 bases. So Wolf is actually going to go for a great big pressure here, realizing that he actually has so many wolves here, he might as well just start to see what Breach has, right? Because he knows that if he lets him just sort of set up and build anything, that, you know, a lot of different things can happen. Wolf knows that he's had this economic lead for a little while. He's going to push. And this situation, Breach actually not pulling his workers to defend here, which I think is, again, this is when you'd want to do that. You'd want to pull those workers and defend that. But maybe he just has enough. He knows he's got the tower. Absolute Chad move there from Breach to just not even bother making the caster eat his words, realizing he does not need to pull these workers. He's just going to sit there mining. He's got actually kind of too many workers here, if I'm honest, because you don't need that many. You sort of at 11 workers, you stop mining any more efficiently. But Breach is going for the +1 attack in his main with the lab. He's still making wolves, and he's now getting the Dragon's Lair. So that's ultimately what we kind of knew he was going to be doing. He's staying on the 2 bases. The one thing that I will say about this game for Wolf is that he doesn't have anything that shoots up. So there's nothing that Wolf has. He doesn't even have a snake pit, or I forget what it's called, but he doesn't even have the ability to produce snakes, but he knows that dragons are a possibility, so he adds the advanced workshop before he does anything else. Now, I think Wolf here is going for the double +1 attack upgrades to make sure that he gets that scaling going really, really well, realizing the main thing here that could kill me is probably dragons. So he's going to get the advanced workshop. He also goes for the snake charmer, that's what it's called. Because he realizes that, you know, that's his next step in this game. You don't really want to be making wolves for the rest of the game. Wolves are 2 supply each for not really being that worth it. In the early game, they're fantastic. They build quickly, and they can do nice surrounds. They're quite quick. They're really, really powerful units. But as the game goes on, you kind of want to get off those wolves, is my understanding. And you want to get onto the snakes and dragons and things like that. Nice here from Wolf. He's taken the advice of Happy to just build a bird after your third and check what's going on. So now Wolf has that confirmation that the Dragon's Lairs are coming out, and so he's going to be able to fully invest he doesn't have to think about it. He doesn't have to worry about it. He's going to fully invest in defense. And the other thing from Wolf that I like here is he knows he's really ahead. He knows that there's no third base coming from Breach, so he can just drop a tower, you know, just to keep him safe. The unfortunate reality for Wolf is that he's got a supply block when he really needs to be getting the Ballista out. So that means he's kind of forced to invest in these towers as soon as possible. Luckily, the dragons are wasting time. Maybe not wasting time, but they're killing these birds. So the clock, Little War Game is a relatively slow RTS game, so you have time to react to things. You don't have to stress too much. As long as you scout it in a reasonable amount of time, you don't have to worry that you're going to just die all of a sudden to, you know, a flock of mutalisks just flying into your base. Second advanced workshop from Wolf going down, so he's really got the ability to spend this money. He's got a major supply lead. He's making sure that he doesn't get supply capped anymore. And Wolf is actually deciding he's got enough things here. He's got enough wolves. He's got +2 attack to the +1 of his opponent. And he needs to free up some supply, quite frankly, right? He wants to be making snakes. He wants to be making these things. And he wants to get the wolves a decent trade before the dragon count gets really high, right? Because obviously the more dragons there are, the more the wolves become a little bit dead weight. And actually, because there's so many wolves, and because dragons and wolves don't do that much damage, it's going to take quite a while for these wolves to die, and that means that Wolf is probably going to be able to get a really nice trade here, get that tower down, kill some workers, and put Breach in a situation where he basically has to win with the dragons that he's got. He's not going to have very much time left over. The dragons realizing, yeah, this is taking way too long. We need to go get some counter damage done. But the situation is absolutely dire for Breach in this situation. His defenses have been breached, if you'll indulge the pun, and he's attacking into 4 bases when he only has really it's going to be 1 base in a very short amount of time. These wolves are going to shred with the +2 attack. They're going to shred these workers. Yes, there are dragons coming in, but it's just not going to be enough. These snakes have like negative damage, like literally negative damage versus air, but they have the +2 attack. And there's a tower to defend there. I'd love to see a repair on this tower. But yeah, the ballista in the balloon is going to be coming out to join this fight pretty soon. And actually, even without the ballista balloon, the snakes and the tower are going to be able to hold this off. And Breach is going to call a GG. And this is going to be 1-0 in favor of Team Dark Realm for game number 1. All right, welcome everybody into game number 2 between Rædwulf and Breach, playing again for Team Dark Realm in the bottom right-hand corner here for the Little War Game Pro League Season 9. It is Rædwulf, and his opponent in the top left-hand corner in the red is Breach. And on this map here, we're going to see, hopefully... Oh, look at that. We've got someone in the chat cheering for Breach, hoping for the best. I think it's very clear to both of these players that there's a significant skill difference here between Breach and Rædwulf. I think just in terms of raw skills here, Rædwulf obviously has those macro skills. He's quite strong. And the one thing that I was saying that the Little War Game players have over the StarCraft players is the game knowledge, right? So they've got all that game knowledge. But the problem is Breach is also kind of new to the game. So Breach is also new, but he's also not got like really strong mechanics coming into this. So it's an uphill battle for him, and I don't blame we for kind of rooting for him there. So it's definitely an underdog story. I'm interested in seeing what his build is going to be here, if there's going to be any kind of adaptation, and it does look like he's going to go for a 2 den. So he's cutting that worker, getting that extra den really quickly. He's hoping to kind of cheese out a win against Rædwulf here, recognizing that there's not really that much opportunity for him in a longer game. He got kind of outclassed in the last game. There wasn't really honestly a strategic error that Breach made. It wasn't so much that, you know, he made a strategic decision or a tactical decision. It was just the fact that Rædwulf was able to make workers, make wolves. His build was tighter, and he had that kind of optimizations to the point where he was able to just bully his opponent. Now, already kind of a significant error here, I have to say, from Breach. I hate when this happens. This happens sometimes where you tell your workers to build a house and it automatically takes the one that's building a building to go and build the house so that it stops building the building. And in these rushes, it's so crucial that you get that building up as soon as possible, because the one thing Breach is going to have over Wolf in this early game is that extra den, those extra wolves, hoping to catch him off guard. Now, Rædwulf knows, because he's got, you know, his RTS skills, that this is an opportunity for Breach, right? He knows that he's been bullying him in pretty much every single game, and it makes a ton of sense for Breach to go for some kind of cheeky push here. Now, if we look from Rædwulf's vision, you can see that he just barely does not scout that wolf's den. So I really like this positioning from Breach, because it means that it's very difficult, as long as he has a couple wolves there. The thing that's going to have to sort of tip Rædwulf off here is that there's, at some point, he's going to see there's too many wolves for the time of the game that he's supposed to have. So if you look and you've been constantly making wolves and your opponent has 1 or 2 more wolves than you, you have to be thinking, okay, well then there's no mathematical way that he could have this many wolves. Well, I only have, 4, he's got 6. Therefore, there's got to be something cheeky there. Now, really like this instinct from Rædwulf. He's coming back in with a little bit of a backstab with these 2 wolves to double check. There's no base here. This is going to tip him off that his opponent is all in. Maybe not all in, but he's definitely doing a major pressure. He should at this point know. Now, unfortunately, 1 wolf is going down for Wolf. This is exactly what Breach wanted. He's using his numbers advantage to be able to hold this, and this is actually a very dangerous situation for Rædwulf. That initial fight has gone the way that Breach wants it to go, and if we look at the unit count here, there are 7 wolves for Breach to only 2 wolves for Rædwulf. So Rædwulf is in a very difficult position, and he's actually fighting with these workers. And yes, Rædwulf has 2 extra workers, but he's going to lose them, right? He's actually losing these wolves. So Rædwulf brings those wolves back. He's going to be continually making, he's got a second den up himself. So now it's just a matter of time. The one thing I would say is Breach has managed to go for a tower in his main. I think this is a bit of a mistake, right? You need to be you don't need to be investing in that when you're trying to make wolves. You really shouldn't be needing to invest in that tower. Unfortunately, that's going to take away from his power at the front, and it's going to mean that Wolf is probably going to be able to eventually clean this up with the power of his exceptional macro, with a little bit of help from his friends, these workers here. Wolf is going to be able to repel this, and just like that, Breach is in so much trouble. Now he's lost his window of opportunity. His wolves are all very damaged. Wolf is mining off of 2 bases. He's got an extra worker, and it might not look that bad, but the fact that he's got the second base is an absolutely massive deal. Breach is actually building 2 more wolves dens off 1 base. Now, I don't even think you can afford that. I don't think that building those 2 extra dens, I could be wrong about this, but I think with the amount of workers you've got on 1 base, the amount of mining, I don't think you can constantly produce off of 4. I could be wrong. I'm sure someone will correct me in the comments, but I think this is just inefficient. It's not the worst thing in the world for him, honestly. He's completely all in, and his macro is definitely not going to be perfect, right? So he's going to be able to make sure that he spends all his money. So that is the one thing that he does have going for him. But unfortunately, Wolf already has basically as many wolves as he does. Yes, he's got Breach has 1 more wolf technically, but that's there's some wolves back here coming up. They're coming up 4 at a time, but because Breach has decided to fight early on here before his extra 2 dens have kicked in, it's going to mean that Wolf is going to be able to clean up this initial push, and now the tables have turned, right? Now Wolf once again has a decent amount of production going. He's not actually building an extra den, but he's constantly producing off of the ones that he has. He's got his workers. Remember that workers in Little War Game are extremely powerful defensive units, and Wolf has managed to push him all the way out to the middle of the map. Now, the only thing I can see Breach doing from this point is gathering his forces, regrouping in the middle, waiting until he has maybe, 20 wolves, and then just sending it once he's got a significant advantage. Maybe deny the scouting from Wolf, maybe bait him into going for a 3rd base, and then just shove in with a worker pull all in. That's like the one thing at this situation I could see being a possibility. The problem that you have is Wolf smells the situation. He knows he's not going to do anything crazy. He's going to build an extra den. He knows that he just needs to survive. He knows that it was 2 den from his opponent. Now, he doesn't know, as far as we know, that there's no castle. So as far as he knows, it's possible that Breach has a castle, and therefore it's time for Wolf to expand and take a third to maintain his economic lead. But I think he knows that in a longer game, it's very unlikely that the macro is going to go his opponent's way. So he just needs to survive, and I like his decision to stay on 2 base, bring the workers out, clean this up. As soon as this wave of wolves is done from Breach, I think this should be a very, very difficult situation for his opponent. If we look at the workers, we've still got plenty of workers to spare for Rædwulf. He's got 22 workers to the 17 of his opponent. The 17 not even being worthwhile here because, again, you can't mine anymore after 11. A couple little surrounds here for Breach, which is going to be nice. He's gotten a few of these. I like this instinct from him. He's found opportunities to whittle away Rædwulf's wolves. Unfortunately, the macro component, the ability to just make units and optimize your build and make more units than your opponent, is just too good for Rædwulf. I'm not. It's not so much that Breach is doing it poorly. It's just that Rædwulf's macro has been kind of exceptional, right? Kind of just very, very clean, very, very pure. He's not really missing. He's not caught. I mean, as I say that, he's supply blocked as I literally say that right now. And both of them are actually on 60 supply at this point. But Rædwulf's macros overall, considering he's been intensely microing as well, he's been doing really, really well to keep up with his production. And now it's the same amount of wolves. It's the same, except just more workers. There's no base coming down for Breach. Wolf even managing to send kind of wolves out to spot the extra ones there. And Wolf is also having the advantage of having a really short run for his reinforcements. So ultimately, his wolves should be able to clean this up. Again, this game is still going. But look at that. With the worker pull and the A move, he's going to trap those extra wolves there. And I believe that is all she wrote. It is now 11 wolves to 8. Breach saying, well, and that probably it's going to be a resignation, I think, I imagine soon. Breach kind of a bit self-deprecating there, saying that wasn't very smart. I'm not sure exactly what he's referring to, because I think the 2 den was very smart. I think you saw there that the 2 den, the early trapping of the wolves was so nice for Breach. He had a really nice situation there, but he didn't quite keep up on his macro. He didn't quite keep those workers coming. He built that tower, which I think was a pretty significant issue. He continued to make workers. You need to know what your build does, and in this case, his build does one thing, and it's make a bunch of wolves early and win the game. And unfortunately, because Wolf was able to just barely eke out the defense there, he's managed to survive past that point, and he's managed to push across the map here. So Wolf with a commanding lead now, with the wolves across on Breach's side of the map. Yes, the reinforcements are coming. The extra wolf from the potential third base from Breach is coming in there. Wolf is going to be able to surround the last few wolves here from Breach, and I imagine he'll be able to push into the main here at any point. I think Breach is just, because it's a Pro League game, he's just thinking, I've got my Dragon's Lair coming down. Oh, he's actually canceled his fortress. Never mind. Maybe he just thinks there's some possibility that, I don't know, Wolf takes pity on him and runs home and doesn't build any air defenses for the next 10 minutes, and maybe he can get out dragons. But unfortunately, this is not a no rush 20 game. This is a full-on, knife fight, and Wolf is going to be able to push all the way in. Now, the one thing that is going to happen here is all these wolves in this little choke point here are going to be very difficult to Breach, but ultimately, Breach GG's out, realizing that he's on his last legs. And game number 2 is going to go to Team Dark Realm. That's going to mean that we start the Team Dark Realm. I mean, I'm playing for Team Dark Realm. We start the series with a 2-0 lead, which means we get 3 points instead of 2. And so that's going to be a nice way for us to start the game. So I'll see you guys in the next one, and hopefully we get some more bangers of games.